Hello, this is Tom for Tabletop Taproom and the Star Frontiers Gamer, and this is our Star Frontiers Outpost 1 Adventure Options Series, Part 3. Part 3. We're going to dig a little bit more into some naval combat with the Outpost 1 timeline that we're reviewing for this. Before we get too deep into it, though, let me just say thanks for watching the video. Thanks to my subscribers. You guys are great. And don't forget that like, subscribe, and bell icon to help me build the channel. Moving right along. So we have a new timeline entry that we are looking at as part of the series. 83, Frontier Year 83, third year. Well, the war started in 80, so it's like the fourth year of the war. This is kind of a big war on the frontier, and we have, it says, the remains of Sathar Fleet 2 arrive at Outpost 1. Despite desperate shortages in supplies caused by the flight blockade and terrible losses from previous engagements, the Sathar have completed their construction. Outpost 1 is now a formidable fortress. Fleet 2, Sathar Fleet number 2, is obviously a clan-wide fleet. Other Sathar fleets have disappeared. They've been driven off into the vast expanse. They've lost a lot of ships, and then they disappear into the vast expanse and not seen during the war again. So I believe, though, to be other clans cutting and running, going, we are going to just cut our losses. We're going to leave Clan Y holding the bag, because if they get knocked down by the UPF, that might cause them to slip in the overall structure, clan structure of the Sathar clans. So this is a good plan on their part to backstab one of their fellow clans and make sure that clan doesn't get too uppity, get too powerful. Clan X has been powerful quite a bit and a little bit higher in the clan structure. So they would definitely not want to see Clan Y rise up. We've talked about why I believe it's Clan Y that's responsible for Outpost 1. If you've not caught the previous video, I recommend that you check that out. So, what do we have here in this? This is really setting up a Guns of Navarone sort of situation. And one of the things you might actually do is the very classic Guns of Navarone. A spec op team is going to infiltrate the planet, take out some serious planetary defenses. That is certainly an adventure option. But I don't have much for this one. So let's move on to the next one, which happens to be FY 83 again, same year. Important cultural artifacts from the Ishnits and the Dralasites are stolen and smuggled into Outpost 1. In addition, the captured populations of Cersei and Kirkut are brought to Outpost 1 as slave labor, plus you have the previously enslaved native population, whoever was living here when the Sathar showed up, and we covered that in part 1. This prevents the UPF from reducing the Sathar stronghold with orbital bombardment. Bombarding a planet from orbit is a great option for wiping out the military. You can do it with nukes, or you could just grab big rocks from the asteroid belt and drop them into the gravity well. And when they strike, if they're a big enough rock, they will strike with the energy of a nuke. They will blow some serious holes. So the UPF, somewhere in the canon, I forget exactly where it appears, there's a statement about orbital bombardment being outlawed. That if any of the member planets perform orbital bombardment, it's hardcore. The space fleet's coming after you. They will not tolerate that sort of thing because it's so detrimental to the native population. And in this case, you have enslaved populations, and you have important cultural artifacts that the Ishnit and the Dralasites value heavily. So one of the things that you could do as an adventure option here is you could have an espionage campaign. You could play out the espionage of the Sathar agents attempting to steal these cultural artifacts. Except I would not do it for the ones mentioned in Zebulon's Guide. I would do it that it's a Yazarian cultural artifact. That way, the player characters can succeed in their mission, and the Sathar can succeed in their mission. So if the players succeed, they stop a Yazarian cultural artifact from being stolen. They recover it, save it, stop it from being stolen, whatever have you, however you run that adventure. So they succeed, but still the timeline goes forward. This is still true. These other artifacts are stolen and brought there, forcing a decision to be made on the part of the UPF. So the espionage campaign could be that players are hired for this one thing. It could be that it's a Star Law campaign. These player characters are Star Law agents pursuing intergalactic thieves and Sathar agents during a war. This could be a really good campaign to run. And so there's possibilities for a Star Law campaign here, and we'll hit other possibilities for a Star Law campaign as the series goes on. So this is a good one. I love this idea. It lets you go back into the frontier proper and have some adventures there, and shoehorn off of other material that's been written. And so you can use other adventure locations and material that's been written. And I think that would be pretty useful. You could also, there's also with the Sathar having a realization that they have, they've been abandoned by some of the other clans. Clan Y has this realization, and their navy's depleted. Their navy's depleted, and they're unable to build new ships fast enough. So therefore, what they are trying to do with Solar Miner is they're trying to consolidate their gains. They realize they're never going to be able to hold on the Solar Miner, that the UPF will be hell-bent for leather to recover a member system. So they are trying to consolidate their gains at Outpost 1. And they're doing this, part of it is, hey, we got to prevent them from orbital bombarding us, number one. But if they can manage to hold on to Outpost 1, they still come out on top in the Sathar War as far as the other clans are concerned. They have the prestige of they've planted a forward base right on the edge of the frontier. They stopped the UPF cold at Outpost 1, and they've hung on to it. This would be important, and it would enhance Clan Y to no end. So they would come out on top in the overall structure of the Sathar clans. So that's the thought that's going on here with moving the whole enslaved population, stripping captured fighter squadrons, stripping assets. They're really attempting to consolidate their holdings. And overall, the most important thing is that the decision is made not to slag the whole planet from orbit. That is an important thing for the rest of the timeline. For what's set up here is very much a war, Normandy invasion, Vietnam War type of slugging it out, grinding casualties on both sides type of war is what is being set up here. So you have to go with this setup that prevents the total destruction of the planet from orbit, which would be too easy. And so you have to set that up. Now, if you've been doing Nighthawk's action, the next two entries are for you. You've got Strike Force Nova, retake Solar Miner. That's a possible battle that Nighthawk's campaign, and you could follow it up with teams going through space stations, room by room, clearing rooms, landing on the planets, rooting out pockets of Sathar, that sort of thing. There's fierce fighting, half of the Strike Force, and all of the Sathar holding ships are destroyed. Then you get FY 83, the Battle of Blockade. Now, this blockade has to be Outpost 1, and it has to be that the flight is blockading the outer system. They've set up to blockade the outer system and intercept any incoming Sathar ships. They have figured out where the incoming Sathar ships are going to void jump into the system because it's too great a space if it's the entire circle arc around the planet at such a great distance. And so the flight has blockade duty. And again, another battle, another big battle. Flight will suffer 50% casualties. The half of the Sathar ships are destroyed, but not the fighting ships. It's the troop ships and supply ships. And this bespokes to the Ifschnik commander of the flight giving the order to ignore the fighting ships and go after the troop ships. So this is an important feature of this battle. The victory conditions are a little different here. We're going to let the fighting ships beat on us, but we're going to go after the troop ships hard. We want to wipe them out. And the thinking here is that because they know the Mist Stone, the Ifschnik cultural artifact, is on the planet, they don't want any more troops getting in. They don't want any more supplies getting in. And so they're content to just drive off the fighting ships, but they must destroy the troop ships and the supply ships. And so he makes the order before there's ever an evacuate, a retreat back into deep space by the Sathar ships. And so it's a very cold-blooded thing because the fighting ships have more guns. They can respond with more weapons against the flight. They will take more casualties because of this order that is given. So this makes for an interesting battle with interesting victory conditions. And I think this is and this could be a nice continuation of the previous flight involved campaign of, the probe scouting the system. So that's certainly a good option. And we're going to wrap up the video here at this point, because the next outline points really get to the battle for Outpost 1. And we'll cover that more heavily in the next video. But until then, this is Tom for Star Frontiers Gamer and Tabletop Taproom. Thanks for watching the video. Thanks to my subscribers, you guys are great. And don't forget that like, subscribe, and bell icon if you've enjoyed these videos. And above all, keep on gaming, and I will see you in the frontier.